Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Data, the New Currency. And our guest speaker today is Ranga Kanapati. He is the Director, Data Technology at PayPal India. Ranga Kanapati is the Director of Data Technology at PayPal India and leads global data operations, infrastructure, quality and release engineering teams. He has strong expertise in establishing cost-effective and company-wide visions and leading geographically dispersed and multicultural organizations. Before taking up this role, he led risk management and global operations product development teams and played an instrumental role in setting up architecture, infrastructure, security engineering, Asia-Pac site, operations and quality assurance team in PayPal India. Prior to PayPal, he was a co-founder of Snowball Computers Private Limited, where he focused on the sales and marketing of software and hardware products. He moved on to work with multinational companies including CSC, Visa, Metal, Assurance, and Fisher-Price. Over his career spanning more than 20 years, he worked across financial, credit cards, insurance, retail, and manufacturing domains. He is a member of TIE, the Indus Entrepreneurs, and PMI, Project Management Institute, and is a strong proponent of technology-centric culture that drives today's young technologists. He is a people-centric person and strongly believes that the success of any team depends on people getting more connected. His mantra is, do what you love and love what you do. He also holds a bachelor's in commerce and master's in computers from College of Engineering, Anna University. He is an ardent lover of music and plays several professional instruments and enjoys playing cricket and volleyball. He lives in Chennai with his wife and 2 sons. So, without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Kanapati.
Oh, thank you very much. That was a nice introduction. And folks, I think I would apologize for there was a little delay due to technical glitch. And we will be able to cover as much as we wanted to within the time that is given to us. Again, thanks a lot for taking your time and joining us, and I'm very glad to be part of this exercise. And thanks to Times, it's been really important within the changing gamut of the world, be it technology or anything that is happening in the trade and the technology. So without further delay, let's get started with our topic of the day, which is data. So I think with the name, you all would know how much data is important in the current world of commerce and trade. And without data, it's pretty much like hitting in the dark. And with data, we will know what we are doing within a predictive manner. That's the whole idea of this conversation. So with this particular aspect, I'm moving into the next slide. So you will get to understand at a high level of what are we going to be covering for this next 45, 50 minutes. The 3 major outcomes is what I'm looking at, basically recognizing the complexity of the data within which we need to be operating with, which is the most important aspect, and I will cover the details of that in the further downward slides. Then comes how data is so important in investing and in tracking the customers and the various trade and commerce industries. Then comes how effectively we can leverage the data as a currency. It's going to be very, I would say for the next couple of decades, this is going to be the topic of the whole industry. So I'm moving on to the next slide. So this slide pretty much talks about what happens in internet in a minute. So just imagine in a minute. It's not about an hour or a day or a month or a year. It's in a minute. If you just go through the numbers, this is how the internet is being used, right? Just let's pick the most used, I would say, the online or the web aspect, the YouTube or Google or Facebook. If you see the number, there are 1.3 million video is viewed in a minute. Again, in a minute, right? And Google, there are close to 2 million, it's actually more than 2 million search that happens in Google. And in a minute, there are 277 logins that gets into Facebook with 6 million users viewing Facebook, whatever it's there in Facebook, right? Likewise, if you keep on going, it's a never-ending list. So if you see the right bottom, so if you want to just pick 1 minute of a video that is streamed in internet, for a person to view that, it takes 5 years. That's what it is currently. So 1 minute of a video, the current state, a person requires 5 years to view the entire video. That's how many videos are being viewed at this point in time. Then if you take the left corner, the bottom corner, currently the number of networking or the connected devices are as equivalent to the global population, which is over 6 billion, right? There are 6 billion connected devices existing in the whole world for connecting into the internet through various medium. It could be mobile or internet, web interface, or whatever it is. Then comes, just imagine, by 2015, the projection is it can only be doubled, not too far, right? Just a year from now, we're expecting the whole networking devices to go beyond whatever we are currently using, 6 billion to 12 billion. That's where we are heading towards. So what does this mean? So I'm just going to the next slide. So this is all dealing with, so we have so many devices, so many users. So what happens? Every instrument, every action that happens in the internet or web emits data, and it acts upon data, and it is triggered by data. So data in general, there's 4 V's. If you wanted to just for you to remember easily, there are 4 V's in terms of data is organized or categorized. It is mostly about the volume of data. So I don't have to say, after looking at the first page, you will see that the volume of data, it's only growing, doubling, tripling, and quadrupling, right? And the general estimate is at least by 2020, there will be a 300 times increase of data, which is eventually it will be 40 zettabytes. Don't ask me how many zeros are there. It is equal to 43 trillion gigabytes of data that will be going back and forth on the internet only through various forms of data. Then comes the variety, again, various forms of data. What are the sources of data? It could be through YouTube or tweets or Facebook or your health meter or whatever it is connected from a person or from an object, right? So that is the variety of data, the forms of data that data is generated from. Then comes, I'm talking about the left corner, the velocity, the analysis and the streaming of data. So the streaming of data is only increasing day by day. The number of sensors that is a car can generate can stream so much of data, and a flight can generate so much of data. In a minute of a flight journey, there are close to 445 gigabytes of data is getting generated. But just imagine so many data, so much of the data is getting generated. But there's a right corner which talks about the veracity, the uncertainty of the data, where imagine the usability of data is very less because the data either is in very raw form or maybe the data quality is not good, or maybe the data is corrupted. The very classical example is the recent flight accident that happened, the Malaysian Airlines, the infamous accident. It's very sad to see with so much of a technology in place and so much of a data in place, you are not able to locate exact or understand what went wrong. It is purely to deal with the veracity, the uncertainty of the data. If the data is properly captured and the data quality is being properly managed, then we wouldn't have this kind of an issue. So that is where we are heading towards. With so much of a volume of data and variety of data with the velocity, the veracity is not in form, we will only have a completely mismanaged or unused or wrongly usage of data. So that's where we're heading towards. So next slide, I just want to talk about what a data could mean and what are the different transformations a data can take from place to place, from time to time. If you take the first one, the data, the most elementary form of any information is data, right? And from there we evolve, data has evolved as into forming a meaningful value as called information. Then the same thing could be evolved or is evolved based on how you want to use it as a knowledge, which basically conveys something with the data and the value that you have. Then if the data has been properly used again and again in the right form, it becomes wisdom. It is basically used for increased effectiveness of the data so that the data can be used in the best form. Now comes, so let's take a typical example, a corporate world or any organization for that matter. So if there's a three-fold here. So if you go to the left corner, which talks about the business data definition, where a data source is getting emitted or generated to the end users, to the customers. It could be through a desktop or a remote desktop, wherever the source is of. So the data is generated from that or pushed from that to the customer interaction, which could be your cell phone, or it could be point of sale instrument, or it could be anything that a user or a customer normally uses, right? Then the same data can be fed back into an organization which captures the data for analyzing for various aspects. It could be for reporting, for the analytics, or for visualizing the data, or for any of the analytics purpose, for the data can be reused for the futuristic aspect of it, right? So after this is done, the same data now can be used for making it more effective to push it back or push it again back into the business data. The same data could also be used into the customer interfacing devices, right? Where you can feel you are getting a good use of the data in an increasing manner. So this is normally the data can be used for, or data can be pushed from an enterprise organization into the customers, and how data can be reused based on the pattern that they generate out of the customer interaction. This is general cyclic way of data is getting used at this point in time. So I'm just moving on to the next slide. That is the previous slide we talked about how the data can be circularly used. Now, how data can be visualized and given best understanding of what a data could mean. This chart, I'm talking about data visualization. So technically speaking, the color schemes will denote the traffic pattern on the road. This is the data which was generated in the US sometime in 2001, September, during that September Labor Day weekend and the 9/11 happenings. If you see, normally Monday through Thursday we have a high volume of traffic. Monday being the first day of the week, you will see dark red. Then Tuesday it goes a little lower. In some part it could be a little darker, and some part it will be orange. And then towards the end of the week, Friday it becomes very less yellow, probably very easy to drive on the road. And Saturday, Sunday nobody's driving. This is particularly to a particular time zone, right? If you see, within Monday and Tuesday, there are 2 days where you see green, which means there are no many people driving on the road. So what does that mean? If you pick the date and time and see what really that day means, so September 3rd, it actually Labor Day weekend. So it's very natural for people not to hit the roads, people having fun at home. And then comes another day, Tuesday, again green. How can it be possible? So then if you drill down the data, it happens to be September 9/11, September 11th, where the whole bad stuff happened in New York. So people was not wanting to hit the road. So this is basically visualization of data. This is one form of visualization is what I would say. Then if you go another way, the next slide, where it gives you an indication of how data could be used for understanding the buying pattern of a particular individual or generally a customer base. In this graph, if you see, the left-hand side shows the number of clicks were made, and the bottom line shows the time in which these actions were performing. If you see the pink box to the top, it shows people go to the office or wherever it is. Most of the clicks are happening between the time 7:30 to 12 o'clock, so till the afternoon. So basically what it means is people are making the clicks, doesn't mean they're buying. If you see the buying pattern, which is actually the pink line, it starts only after lunch, probably like 12:30 or 1 o'clock. It goes up and up. It was in the bottom, then it increases, it crisscrosses, where the clicks goes down and the purchases, the order goes up. So technically speaking, the pattern of any users, or most of the users are, they do a lot of analysis of the purchases they wanted to make, they compare, they search in many websites, and they actually make orders after noon. So if you see, this is where it is. This could be used for many purposes, for making sure the whoever is the website's owners, they could probably make sure the inventory is available in the afternoon so that people can make the purchase. Or the checkout experience should be so nice and fast so that at least in the afternoon the traffic they can make it could be managed very well. So these are some of the analysis in terms of buying pattern. Again, I'm just giving you some ways the data could be used for buying patterns or some analysis or visualization. So this is one of the analysis. If you go to the next way the data is used, is go mostly for keyword search. And I'm sure most of you or everybody knows about what Google is all about, right? Google is all about search. And buying keyword in Google is the most difficult. You can buy real estate in the most, even in Bombay or in the most critical part of Delhi or Chennai or any of the top metros. But buying the keyword in Google is so very costly, and the reusability of the word is again more costlier. So selecting the keyword is very, very important, right? In terms of, because Google, you saw the volume of data it is generated. So people wanted to get from the first search. The top search is what they always go for. So how effective a search word should be. So now comes, we just did an example, some of the example that was normally used. So normal word, people search for bath tissue. I think you all know bath tissue, what it means. And so people are searching for bath tissue, which is a normal definition for any tissue. But it was failing. Why? If you see, toilet paper is what they were searching for, but the internal system was actually mapping to bath tissue, and it was not showing up. It was a failed search. Just imagine, at least in the developed countries, toilet paper is the most used in bulks. They buy in bulks and keep it at home. So they're not able to get what they want, which is very, very basic as far as an user is concerned. It was a failure. So this basically generates and shows what people define versus what they actually use. The English word and the way it is used in a colloquial word is very different. So normally if you go for a search, so it's better for us to go with the way people normally speak. So that's the whole idea of this particular example. If you go with the next example where we talk about the search effectiveness. When normally if the search is not fetching what a customer needs, that's about it, right? It is out of the website and goes to a different website. So how do we make sure we get the best search possible? Then comes only 10% of the search is what we're looking at it. There are 90% people don't even search, right? So we are actually losing 90% of the business in the non-internet fashion. And within 10%, only 64% of the search is successful, which will increase the sales into 2.2x. If it is like 1, probably you may get 2.2 size of your sales. Within that, let me just click on the next one, which talks about average sale per visit, right? It is 2.8x for the last searched and succeeded item. So, but if you see, the crux or the majority of the matter is still in the no search. The people don't even go to the website for wanting what they wanted to do. So, guys, one sec. I'm not sure if everybody is able to hear me. I'm just getting a notification here saying that there's a network connection difficulties. People are finding difficult to connect. Is that, should I wait? Okay, I'll just keep moving on. Okay, so this primarily talks about how effective a search has to be. And every search, failed search, really hurts the business in a big way. So the whole idea of creating the whole website and creating inventory and connecting to the customer is one thing, and most important aspect is making sure they are able to connect. If you go to shop, what do you normally ask for? Can they say the same thing in the website, and can the search bring the inventory to them so that your search rate is high and success of converting the search into sales is also very high. So that's about the search. Then comes about if somebody goes to a page, right, any web page, how effective a search page. We just did an analysis of one of the very popular website in Europe, and if you see anybody getting into this website, there was a calculation of how many click percentage happens in whatever bars that we showed on a website. So that if you see the 14% to the left corner, there's a click. I think that is the most highest click in the women's column, which is very natural. Then comes the homeware, no, not homeware, wedding, which is 13%. Then comes the homeware, which is 8% on the top. Then 18% of the visit exit at the welcome page, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you just have this as a some kind of a data point, we should be expecting 14% of the revenue coming off of women and 13% coming out of the wedding bar, and then probably 9% should come out of the search. When to the surprise, if you see, the way it works is women, which actually showed 14%, it is only 1.4x of the business. Then comes search, which showed 9%, is only getting 1.4x again. Then comes 13% of wedding, it is only 4.2x percentage. But to the surprise, if you see, catalog, which was only showing 2%, is actually now 10.2x%, 10x of the sales happen through the catalog. Then comes the flowers, which was only 0.6% click, actually has 5x. So what it actually shows is it's not the number of clicks on a particular place in the website which would be a potential revenue conversion. It could always be other way around. These are some of the patterns we have to analyze. If you're just hosting a website, we have to be very careful in making sure where is the real estate invested in the website and where does people actually go for actually converting the clicks into the sales. And most of the times, wherever you have better catalog where people can see and visualize, it actually gives them a better aspect of, okay, the usage, what they can normally get the experience when they go to store. The same experience, if you can give it a website, is where you make most of the revenue. That's the analysis of that. Then the next analysis of the customer behavior is, how do we do the customer profiling? Normally, which product sells well together? It's a pair product analysis, right? These are some of the examples, what it is shown. Some of the examples could be, we go buy a cell phone, the headphones, cell phones and the headphones. And then comes, you buy a trouser, you buy a shirt, right? Something like that. So they're just giving some of the examples from the European and the Western countries where they do a sleeping pad, then they buy an association with the stuffing sack, right? Then the crew women apparel goes with the long john women apparel. It's again silk and silk, right? So this is how a pairing helps. So whenever somebody is coming for a cell phone, if you can also show them headphones, normally there's a good opportunity or a very high opportunity for building a confidence for the customer to also buy a headphones, right? That is how a paired or a connected or a logical connecting of any devices or any material that you wanted to sell on website, so that they don't have to go around in knowing what are the best alternate pairing for product that they have to purchase in a website. This is one way of identifying the customer profiling and pairing up the products so that you can increase the product selling on the website. Then comes the product affinity. So this is where, again, the confidence level of the purchasing of the buyer increases very highly, where if the website can show whoever bought X also bought Y, that lifts the confidence to very high level, so that it actually tells them, you know what, a buyer like you who bought something in X also bought Y. So buying the confidence and buying propensity of buying Y is so high if they see a similar association of product was sold for a similar buyers. To make it very simple, if you see somebody buying whatever you wanted to buy, and if you see somebody else buying also what they bought, you will also go for it. That is exactly what it is looking like. And in this example, we just picked up the reversible mats. Whoever bought this also bought a cotton towel, right? So that's how it works. So now I'm moving into the next slide, where it talks about intelligent shopping agents. In absence of real agents, what you normally experience in a shopping mall, you don't have that in online, right? So if you give an online agent experience for the users, where the agent can give you some suggestions and advices, you will probably be more associated as an individual helping you to buy what you wanted to buy. This was originally implemented by Amazon a long time back, and it is actually helping them a lot in converting some of the small-time buyers into real-time buyers. So this is another way of attracting the customers by use of various ways of connecting with them in a direct fashion. Then if you just pick the eBay, one of the website, this is a customized customization that eBay builds for their buyers based on their pattern of buying or selling or their viewing. This is one of the buyer who normally goes in and looks for watch or iPhone or whatever. So eBay connects all the buying, all the inventory based on the individual patterns of the particular user. So he likes motors, he likes electronics, he likes collectibles, and it will show you all the interest that person was actually been going through for the last few weeks or few months, or the wish list, or the recent searches that he made. And for all good reasons, if there are some good deals coming up, that will be popping up for the user connecting. You know what, you wanted to buy an iPhone, there's a good deal on iPhone. You wanted to buy probably a Rolex watch, there's a good deal on Rolex. Maybe it's not available, but I'm just saying. So that is how they connect the buyers, so that they feel that somebody really making a shopping mart or shopping mart only for them. That's giving the customization. This is actually helping eBay in a big way, right? I mean, assuming if you are a user, you go every day and you see all that you wanted to buy with all the good deals, I'm sure there is going to be at least 80 to 90% of the time you would definitely want to buy what you wanted to buy, right? And then I'm moving on to the next aspect. So this is another way of attracting the customer is, how do we understand the customer pattern or behavior of his shopping exercise, right? So as a user, if you take yourself as a user, you go to a shop, and sometimes it doesn't have to be the same pattern. Doesn't mean you buy a cell phone, you always buy a headphone. Sometimes you buy a cell phone, you also buy a cigarette, or you may buy a cool drink. And if it is going to be patterned multiple times, which means, or normally you don't buy a cell phone every day, anything that you buy on a regular basis, like for instance, we did an analysis, diaper and a beer. So I'll just come back. I want to just maintain this stuff for next two slides. Just keep this diaper and beer in your mind, and there's a hidden pattern in this, which you will see in the next slide. So how do we analyze a hidden pattern of a customer with his behavior pattern, right? And within the hidden pattern. So if you move on to the next slide, this is primarily of a this is a box which shows a table which shows about a transaction ID of a particular user, where he bought product F, A, C. The F, A, C is all about product that he bought, or item he bought, or a transaction. This is one particular transaction of a particular user. So he bought F, A, C, whatever. Then the transaction 200. Another buyer also bought A, B, C, F, L, M, and O. Then another product, another user bought product 300. The transaction is 300. He brought product from B to O. Then the next transaction is B to P. The next transaction is A to N. These are different users. But if you see, there is a pattern here. Most of the users are buying A, C, and M. So what it means, so which means ACM is the most bought product, at least in this particular store, online store. What could it mean? So if you know that, you will make sure the inventory for those is always kept for all the users, or at least 80%, 60% users in this particular. The 5 transaction, close to at least 3 users were buying ACM as a product, right? And similarly, you can do analysis for rest of the stuff also. There are B and C, which is also being mostly used. So these are useful for the store, online stores, to make sure they always have inventory to invest, so that they can always have those inventory for the customers when they actually wanted it. So again, you see diaper and beer. So what does that diaper and beer indicates? That's pretty much a predictive modeling where it helps. This is one of the analyses which happened in Europe, where a particular person used to always buy a diaper and a beer. How can it be possible? Diaper and a beer. Diaper is normally used for the kids, or mostly used for the kids, and beer is for a guy or somebody who likes beer, and of course it has to be major, right? It cannot be under 18. And how can this be a possible scenario? So then there was an analysis conducted on how this pattern could be possible. Then they found it to be, there's a single parent guy, he has a kid, and he likes beer, and he's buying diaper for the kids. So what happens at home? So this is what it is. So he goes and he changes the diaper and puts his kid for the sleep. And normally kids sleep probably whenever he changes the diaper. And he likes drinking beer, just has a peaceful drink after he changes the diaper. So this is a very unique and a different hidden pattern. This is not a normal pattern at all. But understanding this pattern, if it is going to be used, or if it can be replicated by most of the single parent, who is a guy, and probably this works, right? This is how a pattern is analyzed in a hidden way. So that's one way of getting into the predictive modeling. Coming on, when talking about the predictive modeling is mostly analyzed at product level and the location level at the merchant level. So I hope you understand. A product which is very commonly sold in US, it doesn't have to be sold in India. And the same merchant, Walmart is the majority of the sales which is connected to all the customers in the US, and Walmart doesn't exist in India. So what are the other? Probably Reliance, probably Spencer's, whatever, right? Some of the common brands that is sold. So the product that is sold in the US doesn't have to be sold in India, and within India, some of the urban location doesn't have to carry the same products that is being sold in the rural. And the merchant who normally sells any products in the rural doesn't have to be selling the same product in an urban area. So that is how it is actually being managed as a predictive model. So it's a black box as far as the users are concerned. It doesn't have to be completely kept in open way of world. But as far as the customers, as far as the merchant or the online merchant is concerned, they have to be very, very clear about who are their customers and what is the location the customers are actually coming up with. Then what are the products the customers are normally sold. If you go to the next slide, this talks about how a decision tree is normally happens is somebody getting into a website, right? So if you are a user, you go to a website and going to the website, you're making a decision, should I go to a website or you want to go to an online store or an offline store? And okay, probably you go online. 70% of people goes to online also. Then probably what it means is that 100% were distributed. 91 plus 70 is not 100. It is the same person can also go to online or offline. That is how it is. You have to read about it. So going to online store, 70% of them feels okay, let me go to online. And 91% of them feels, you know what, let me go to offline. So within that, imagine the number of sale, the volume of sale that happens. In online, there are 1.7 trillion worth of, in offline, there's 1.7 trillion worth of sales happens in offline only. There are people who go to online, but they feel, you know what, no, I'm perfectly okay. Let me go check the store of the product. Probably I would want to check the product to buy it on offline. and probably, sorry, I go to, I'm sorry guys, I go to online, check the product, let me get the deal, and I'll go to offline. The amount of sale is 1.1 trillion. The offline sale is like still more than 10 times of what happens in online. In online, if you see, 190 billion is what the online retail business that happens at this point in time. This is all US data. And then 13 billion transactions are happening through the mobile sales. Generally in online, we have close to 200 billion odd transaction happens with the volume sales of 200 billion. And for offline, it's close to 2.8 trillion worth of sales that happens in sales. So which means if online has to be stronger, they need to make sure they can replicate the offline model in online as interactive, as effective, and with a very good experience for the customer to be increasing in the online world. And then comes locations. There was an analysis in terms of where does or how many sales are happening keeping the store closer versus far from the home. So in the US, they did an analysis. Anytime if a customer have to drive to a store, probably 5 miles or 10 miles, the possibility of them buying more is very high. What it means is, since normally it's a customer behavior, right? Since he's out of home for a good reason of shopping, which means he's a serious shopper to start with, then comes, since he's out there for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever comes on his mind, he touches and feels, you know what, let me go buy this. So the amount of sales that happens for the farther location of the retail store is very, very high than a store being the local. The general myth is, if the store is closer, I can come back and just walk by and get it, but now most of the times you won't normally buy. And if it is farther, you don't want to keep going back and forth. Since you are there, let me go buy. That's how the consumer behavior and brain works. This is another analysis of the customer location-based analysis. So in a nutshell, so I'm just getting into the last slide. In a nutshell, so the most important aspect is now you would know how much data can tell you how to do the business and where to do the business and who to do the business, right? It's very, very important. So making the data work to delighting the customer is very, very important, because a lot of investment is happening in terms of market analysis and the target marketing also, not specific to general marketing. Imagine if you go to a TV shop and every advertisement you see is all about TV, which means you are a serious customer to buy a TV. If you can get a good deal, you'll definitely get it. If the same advertisement, if you go to a medical store, if you see a TV, will you be interested in buying? Will that advertisement make any sense to you? That is what is called targeted marketing, to make sure at least 60 to 70% of the time targeted marketing hits a customer and the sales is actually made. So that gives you specific analysis of the data that gives for the customer. That is very, very important. Then managing the customer relationship is also very, very important. Cross-selling. So you basically you go for something and you also buy something else. How can we do that? Like go to a coffee shop, and you normally go for a coffee shop, they upsell it with samosas and sell it with cake or whatever comes today's deal for you, sir. Just take this. You buy a coffee, you also get this for free, and probably they would have increased the price for coffee also. That is kind of a cross-selling, selling some of the product aligned with what you normally buy. So these are all the good aspects of it, which is a good problem to have. As you get better and better, you get more sales and you grow your income. The most important aspect in online is risk analysis. How can you forecast the data? How can you forecast the customer behavior? And how can you retain the customer? There is an analysis. The investment made on acquiring new customer, and the same investment, if you can invest on retaining the customer, you have a good chance of making more sales. It's basically building a loyalty customer. As the existing customer happy, you actually mouth-to-mouth marketing for your product is actually very high, and personal connection of customer to customer gains more customer retention than you just upselling something. So how do you retain the customer is very, very, very important. Every company in the world is fighting to retain the customers, and every online they're fighting to retain their customers. Then comes how do we maintain the data quality so that when you do the analysis, the right data you use for the data analysis so that you make the right decisions. That's a very, very important and a very nascent state of it, and most of the companies are investing a lot in data quality. Then comes the competitive analysis. How can you analyze yourself compared to your peer? Can the data give you that information so that you know what is the best way to invest so that you can get the best ROI? Then with online comes the next aspect of the fraud detection. How can you make sure this unusual pattern you see in a customer, which is actually probably somebody else is using your data in the wrong way, or some other user is using some of your user information, trying to get into your system and just stealing some of whatever your transaction or whatever it is. Basically, online fraud detection is very, very important for any online trading. So technically speaking, the last 3 points what I wanted to close up with is how effectively you can use the data in a strategic manner for a competitive advantage, because everybody is in the market trying to take your own pie of the market. So how competitive you can be using the data is very, very important. Then comes how can you integrate all the data sources to know exactly when and how to manage your customers for retaining and increasing your sales. Then the third advantage, the third important aspect is how can you use the data, and using the data, how can you drive the organization with a strong analytics culture. Anybody in this particular era of the commerce world, everybody is wanting to invest in data-driven organization so that they can analyze their future for the next 1 year or a couple of years, 3 years, so that they can invest in the right place and also get the right revenue. So with that comes, I hope you will believe data is so important, and I'm sure you will all will understand the new currency of the world is data. So with that, my session ends. I think I'm closer to time. I'm sorry for taking a little over time, and really thank everybody. I am open for any questions.
Yes, so we are waiting for the questions to come in. In the meanwhile, if you would like to talk a little more about the webinar, that would be great.
Oh yeah, so by the way, thanks a lot guys, and this is really, really useful. And I think this is the second or third time within our company we're using this webinar, very, very useful. And hopefully this helps for the folks who's connected, and for me also to be able to connect to the rest of the world. And hopefully this will go in a big way. Thanks a lot again, appreciate it.
Request the audience to put in their queries if they have any.
Okay, looks like I was either very clear or I confused the heck out of the people.
No, trust me, if you have confused the audience, then there would be a lot of queries coming in. So I think you provide a lot of clarity during the session.
Not a problem. Okay. That is to be done. Probably I should thank the Times of India and the folks who participated. And guys, you know my profile, and if you have any kind of a question on this, please reach out to me. I'll be very happy to be supporting you even on offline. Thanks a lot.
And I'm really thankful to our guest speaker today for conducting this wonderful webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. So would you like to wait for some more time for the questions to come in, or would you like to close the session?
I didn't hear you.
Would you like to close the session now, or would you like us to wait for some time for the questions to come in?
No, I can wait.
All right. So this is for all the audience. If you have any queries, please put them now. Right now, we are waiting for the questions to come in. So we have a question with us. Are you able to see the question in your questions tab? Ganapati?
I'm just trying to.
So would you like me to read out the questions for you?
Yeah.
So the question has come from Apeksha Kaushik. She asked, what should CIOs do to make business sense of the deluge of data?
I mean, yeah, that's exactly, it's a very, very useful and interesting question, and I appreciate. And by the way, so, I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about, right? So most of the CEOs, if they understand the data and the purpose of their business and the customers, if they can connect all three, that's exactly what it is, right? And as a CIOs or even a CFOs, they have to be very, very careful in making the right investment, in the right inventory, in the right customer segmentation, with the right targeted audience, with the location and product and everything. That's exactly where the data is going to be really, really useful. And this is very, very important for us to get the best ROI, return on investment, on what we make. We can make probably $100 and wait for 6 months to get $200. And the same $100 can be invested in probably in a product that is very, very hard. And if you can get $200 in a week or so, they will make investment. That is where the data is very, very useful for CIOs and CFOs to be very, very savvy in understanding the data. So this is a major investment. Most of the companies, including ours, making a hell of investment in this space. Very good question.
This question comes from Tarun. He is asking, can you please throw some light how PayPal is leveraging data?
Oh, yeah, PayPal, we internally call PayPal is actually a data company. That's what we call. It's a very good question. Thanks again. So I think you all would know over 15% of the internet traffic goes through eBay and PayPal. And the user base, we have close to 128 million customers using PayPal. So what it also means is we have so much of our data coming from so many customers, and we are over in 150 countries and serving close to over 40 different currencies across the world. So data is so very important for us in understanding. So for instance, if you're dealing with a business in India or in Asia Pac versus to Western countries in the US or UK, so data is very useful in understanding where to make investment, what kind of product we need to be launching, what kind of experience we should be launching. So all this is very, very useful, and this goes back into the whole mix of efficiently creating better experience again and again and again. So basically, we first launch a product and see how the product is getting used by the customers. And if it is going to be good enough, we will try to expand on the same product. If it is not, probably we have to take the product out and launch a new product. That is for the product. And how do we connect the merchants to the customers? What are the services the merchant needs? What are the customers' needs from the merchants? All this analysis is all happening within PayPal. So any company in internet and online, and that to PayPal, we're dealing with financial investment or financials of the people. We have to be more careful in making sure we are giving the right experience and the right services for the customers across the world, not a particular country. So data is very, very useful in each and everything that happens in PayPal. Hope that answered.
Yes. So there's another question that has come in. The retail industry and e-commerce firms love data. It's crucial to their survival given the stiff competition. How do they plan to maintain it and use it to stand ahead of the competition?
Just one sec. It was too big a question. I'm trying to. Okay, now I get it. Retail industries and e-commerce firm loves data. It's crucial to their survival given the stiff competition. How do they plan to maintain it and use it to stand ahead of the competition? That is exactly. So if you go through my slide, probably I'll share it sometime later. So we have to be very careful in understanding your own customer base, right? And like I said, acquiring new customer is very, very easy, but retaining the existing customer is very, very important. If you see the major two retailer in the whole world is eBay and Amazon, right? there's a head-on competition in wherever we go, in whichever product that we launch. So how do we maintain that? They have their own intellectual property and their own experience and their own way of running the business versus what we do in eBay and PayPal. So it is a continuous evolution and the continuous evolvement and the experiential. It is like continuously evolving experience of the customer pushes back into creating better competition of the product that we launch. And if you see the product, if you're very closely monitoring any of the top sellers on online, you will see that everybody is literally competing against each other in acquiring the new customers and also sustaining the customer. So we also have something called Net Promoter Score, where primarily how happy a customer is by using your product. Will he be able to recommend your product to their relatives and the friends? That is one of the key metrics that we normally capture to make sure the customer is happy. Some of the feedback that we actually do a survey with the customer after the purchase or the checkout is done. So for us to know how happy they were doing the experience, did they get what they want, or how happy they are. So all this is used to maintain the customer experiences so that it will be used for us to get the better experiences as they come back again and again. So that's very, very important. Then promoter score and maintaining the existing customer is very, very important. That's exactly where our investment will be always. And whoever can maintain the best customer base are the winner in this market. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, the next question comes from Abhishek. He's asking all social data capture for business analysis. How we can trust the companies?
Okay. I'm trying to read and for some reason I'm not able to read it. Can you just repeat the question if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So the question is all social data capture for business analysis. How we can trust the companies?
That's a very good question. And yeah, in the current world, the data is free, right? It's almost available free. I would say the most important aspect is the customer, the way they wanted to maintain their safety and security and the secrecy of the information. So the general information, yeah, that's how it is, right? Everybody has the data. Visa has the data, MasterCard has the data, PayPal has the data, and how we use, as long as it is not used to screw anybody's personal life, I think it should be okay is what I would say. It's only used for commercial purpose, for selling and making sure we're analyzing your behavior and making sure we're able to cater to your needs. As long as that is used, yeah, that is what we are using it. If somebody is using it for a different reason, I don't think that's acceptable.
The next question comes from Renu Arya. She's asking, from Excel sheets to big data, how have the tools used for analytics changed?
Oh wow, we're like talking about ambassadors to Mercedes-Benz, or even worse than that. Yeah, it's an evolving world. The data is evolving, and we were in a very primitive stage. I mean, Excel is only storing and depicting your data to a very high level. But big data, the volume of data, you saw the first page, right? If you go to the first page, that's where it is. Can Excel manage that much volume of data? So we were talking about what, 300 times increase of data in, from 2000 up, I would say. By 2020, we're expecting 43 trillion gigabytes of data. Can Excel manage it? No way. Microsoft, volume of data, come on, give me a break. So, and with big data, it comes with a lot of other analytics, right? It's becoming like a very open source, and a lot of analytics tools also available. And any smaller companies, they cannot invest in a bigger investment, and it is coming into as a commodity for even for the smaller companies, where companies like PayPal, for instance, we do a lot of analytics for our own merchants. They don't have to do any analytics. That is the value add services PayPal is providing, and that's what everybody wanted to do. So that is where big data is very, very useful, and we're all investing a lot on big data so that the processing cost of data becomes cheaper because the volume of data is so very high. We can't keep investing on Teradata of the world and oracles of the world. So big data is becoming the next big thing for the data processing.
Okay, so before we close this session, we have one last question with us that comes from Tarun Mohanty, and his question is, does big data initiatives make sense for smaller companies, or do they still need to continue with traditional DSS, that is data warehousing?
Again, the small or the big company, it depends on, the definition changes by location, by geography, right? A small company in the US could be as big company as in India. So if you say, it all depends on the volume of data that the company wants to generate and process it. So if the volume is in terabytes, and it should be okay to be managed with a smaller, the general conventional or traditional way of doing stuff. If it's going to be huge like Facebook or eBay and Amazon, I think we better off invest in big data because the volume of data is way, way too high. And the overhead in managing big data is pretty high than managing like the smaller data warehousing. So it depends on the size of the business. The volume of data that your business consumes is very, very important.
I think that was the last question you have just answered. So if you would like to give a closing line before we end the session, you can do it now.
Yeah, nothing different than what I said, and data is growing, and like I said, data is the new currency of the world. So anybody investing in data, nothing will go for waste. I'm sure for the next 1 or 2 decades, most of the investment will be only in data and data and data. That's exactly what I wanted to close up with. Thanks again for the opportunities. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ganapati, for taking the time out. And as I have already reiterated, I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Ganapati, for giving us the time, and have a great evening ahead.
Thank you, guys. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.